Serious, those of you who met what was probably your soulmate, but didn't wind up with them. What's your story? Met a girl on an early era internet date, before OkCupid and stuff was around. We met at a restaurant around 6 PM and had talked all night till they told us they were closing. We clicked big time. She up and vanished on me after that. Found out several years later she'd been killed in an accident. She passed away. While we were together I felt like I had won the lottery. I was walking on sunshine. She had a heart condition and we laid down for a nap and she passed away asleep in my arms. That was 4 years ago. It broke me. At the very least, she passed with someone she wanted to be with. Sorry for your loss. He died in his sleep from a congenital brain malformation 2 months before our wedding. I am now happily married with children, but I still miss my first love and imagine what might have been. My current husband knows of him and asks to hear stories of him sometimes. We both have a drink in his memory on his birthday every year. I am sorry, your current husband sounds amazing. He killed himself. It was a little over 7 years ago. I still miss him, and the pieces of me he took with him when he left. She was my high school sweetheart, but I was too young and stupid to realize how amazing she was and I broke up with her. My family moved away to another state and I lost contact with her and any mutual friends, but I never stopped thinking of her. 30 years and 2 divorces later, she shows up as a person you may know on Facebook. I sent a friend request and went to bed. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my friend request came up on her phone at the same moment that her husband of 20 years was telling her that he wants a divorce. We started talking and reconnecting. I flew to meet her a few times, then moved back to be with her. That was 2 years ago and now I can't imagine life without her. I too had a high school sweetheart who remained the love of my life 30 years later. I too was young and stupid. I would give 10 years off the end of my life to have happened to me what has happened to you. Sincerest congratulations and Godspeed. Lost my first soulmate in a motorcycle accident in 1981. We were inseparable from age 15 to 21. Never thought I would find someone as awesome ever again. Then I met my current husband in 1992 and we've been together 26 amazing years. I thank my lucky stars every single day and make sure he knows how much I appreciate him and make every day count. Thank the Lord for a response in this thread with a happy ending, aka someone finding love a second time. Let's just say I needed that at this point in my life right now. Cheers to you and yours. We met 4 years ago through a mutual friend. He was very much into the same stuff I was. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, sci-fi literature, heavy metal and musicals, etc. My proudest moment with him was showing him the recording of Ian Gillan singing Gethsemane and watching his jaw drop. I loved him so much then. I introduced him to Monty Python and he showed me The Fall, which became one of my fave TV series. We just taught each other stuff. I taught him some Swedish. He taught me some rudimentary SQL. We just clicked in everything. Went to concerts, movies, parks, museums and stuff. I took him to my favorite city here and showed him the historical buildings and so on. We went to the castle near the city I'd go for summer vacations and it was like a fairy tale. They had a medieval festival there, with minstrels and stuff. We sat and listened until the dead of night. Nothing ever happened, not even a kiss, but we never stopped smiling when we were together. And of course I cared so much for him. And then his GF came back from her year abroad for school. They had decided before to put their relationship on pause for the year, but when she came back they started over. We're still friends. I became friends with her too, because I genuinely like her. I never felt any resentment towards either of them. I just felt empty. I still do. I'm invited to his wedding next Saturday. I knew the moment we met. As soon as I shook his hand and looked into his eyes I felt the ground shake. A jolt went through my body and a ringing in my ears. I looked around to see if anyone was experiencing it too, but it was just us. About a week later, he messages me. He had gotten my number from a mutual friend. He had felt it too. The next few years with him were the best. Sure, we had our ups and downs but we had each other and our baby. Then he died. It's been years but I know I'll never love anyone like I loved him. I have our child getting me through life now. Frick man, I'm just reading all the loves that passed away. Breaks my heart. Heart out for your child and yourself. Hope he's in a better place. I thought he was my soulmate. He didn't think I was his. We are still close friends and I have long since moved on. But it still stings that he didn't even give it a try. The year before I met her, I was doing some journaling under the influence and wrote about my dream girl. The second I saw her, our eyes met and I felt this overwhelming feeling that I already knew her. Luckily she felt the same and we quickly became inseparable. The more I got to know her, the more stuff that checked off my list. We spent day and night together for 4 months. I met her dad, mom, and grandma and she met my family as well. I realized I loved her when we were sitting outside smoking around sunset and listening to music and she was dancing and smiling and so carefree that I couldn't help but let loose and join her. I moved across the world and we tried to make it work. We talk at midnight or lunchtime on the phone and text all the time. After a couple months, I was so sure that I was going to marry her once I moved back, but out of the blue she cut all contact. A month later she got back in touch and was confused why I was so mad and thought that she'd ghosted me. Instead of taking the high road, I said some pretty mean stuff to her. Once I got back to the country, I drove up to see her. We had lunch with her brother and her best friend and there were glimpses that things weren't done with us, but it still felt off. It was like seeing a ghost. I moved again and now we're a lot closer as far as distance and we've reconnected on social media. We follow each other, but I'm hesitating teaching out again. After she disappeared on me I went into a deep depression and I still haven't fully recovered. I still think about her every day and maybe one of these days I'll finally get up the courage to talk to her. I think about her every day. 7 years. He proposed. I thought he was mine. And I believed he felt the same. We grew up from college all the way to supporting one another till the working world. My love for him only got stronger and I felt like the top of the world knowing I'll be able to spend forever with the man I trust and love and build our own little home together. Just a month back he bailed. Just bailed. Spark was gone for him. He didn't know who he was, he said. Things are routine. He doesn't know what he wants. I thought of him in forever. He thought of me in days. Maybe I painted a life full of routines for him, so he never envisioned it with me, but it was hard to swallow because that's all we talk about. My greatest wish was being able to say goodnight and good morning to him in person every day, and I was abandoned like these years didn't happen and didn't mean a thing. Like I'm not worth it. Maybe it's fate. I thought he'll be my last. Guess not. I'm still getting over not blaming myself, wondering what went wrong. I thought I was good enough. Somewhere deep down I still hope it'll be him and me in the end. I thought of him in forever. He thought of me in days. Dang. This hit hard, but I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you are doing alright. We were both quite young and too emotionally immature in our own different ways, but he at least was mature enough to know we weren't suited for a relationship at the time. Since then it's been a case of bad timing. He was in a relationship when I was single, and then when I got into a relationship later on he became single shortly after. I love my partner too much to ever consider leaving them for this guy, especially since I hardly know him anymore and still feel a bit of residual shame over things I said and did, but I always wonder what might have been had things gone differently. He was special from our very first conversation, and he felt the same about me, but we were both just too emotionally immature and at the wrong place in our lives. None of us knew what we wanted, nor were we ready for a committed relationship, so we ended up fighting, having a fallout and going our separate ways. It's been about 7 years now, and I still feel bittersweet every time I talk to him. He just recently told me he still dreams of me at night. And we still have just as much in common. We've also both managed to become severely depressed, which sucks, but it's a very special feeling to be able to remain close, talk and support each other. It means the world. Still, we've both accepted that we as a couple are over and we know that picking things up never would be the same anyway, but I'll always wonder what could have been. We were married but lost a baby and couldn't recover. I still held out hope but he married someone else. I still held out hope for years of staying in touch, and a couple divorces on his end, but after too many years I realized he just wasn't into me. I'm so sorry for your loss. He couldn't commit. We dated on and off for over 10 years. He was in the military, so it was a lot of long distance, which was okay for me. I like my independence. We had a pact to marry at 30, which we were close to. I met my husband when I was 28. When I told him that I was getting married, he called me from Afghanistan and professed his love and said we were soulmates. But that's as far as he went. He didn't ask me to rethink my engagement. He didn't say any of the things that you would expect to hear from someone who missed their chance and wanted it. I got married. I still talk to him occasionally. He is married now. But when he talks about her, moving in was just the next step. And marrying her seemed like the right thing to do at this point in the relationship. And they seem to get along well. Paraphrasing his words, I think he settled because he realized he messed up. I love him very much, and probably always will. He's going to break up with me when I get home in 2 days and I'm heartbroken and trying to figure out what friend I can call to help me move out of his place because they all work. I'm heartbroken, horrifically sad, numb, and puffy-eyed all at the same time. How am I supposed to go back to work like this? It's like bereavement. It's dreadful and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. We got married, then she died about a year and a half later. This wasn't one of those things where I knew she was unwell either. Our dating period was admittedly very short, but we had known each other for some time before we had started dating. After we got married, I became aware of her health problems. Depression, endometriosis, interstitial cystitis. Basically her life was a living heck of pain and sadness, and I couldn't take it away from her. She went on an oral contraceptive, Lutera, for those who want to know, to help regulate her menstrual cycles, which was what killed her when it caused blood clots to begin forming as a result of her sedentary lifestyle brought on by depression and her other conditions, which I have heard can cause levels of pain similar to suffering from terminal cancer. She died when one of those clots moved through her heart, causing a pulmonary embolism. I'm so sorry. She wants kids. I don't. I was very upfront when we started dating. 10 months and she tells me she couldn't see her life without children. I'm not mad at her. She's an amazing person with so much love to give. She's a school counselor and is one of those in the school system that loves every kid. She believes no child is born bad and she wants to leave every kid better off after interacting with them. I know writing all of this out loud makes me sound dumb for not expecting this. I did. At least I think I had to have known this was going to happen. She's just amazing. I wanted to experience a relationship with someone that will treat me with mature care and love. I'm convinced the sun shines out of her butt. She told me this morning, the only future I can have with her is one with children. That's a decision I now have to make. Wishing you the best of luck in this situation. Whether you would be a good father or not is irrelevant if fatherhood is not what you want for your future. She broke up with me. Honestly, there was a lot of delusion on my part, ignoring flaws without realizing it and stuff like that. Because he wasn't my soulmate, but he really felt like it at the time. There was something really strong drawing us back together again and again. Feeling like we were meant to be together. That we had an energy and connection we could have with no one else. But there also always seemed to be a force pulling us apart. Like he could never really settle, commit, and be my real boyfriend. I am sure I was also ambivalent or didn't really know what I was doing. But he held all the cards in that way. Even after years together, on and off, we only admitted we had been in love when he was about to marry someone else. This man was no doubt one of the great loves of my life. I still think of him often and very fondly even though we haven't spoken in almost 20 years. But he only felt like my soulmate to me because he was the first intense, adult love of that type I had ever had. This was the case for both of us. And I think it's a big part of why we kept going back to the same well to see if it would work out. Someone here said that the first person who treats a teenager like an adult will have that teenager's undying devotion, and to be careful of that. I think, for some people, it's the same with love. Because he was my first real love, I sort of imprinted on him and our relationship. I felt nothing could ever be like that again. And I was right. But it's not bad on balance. We were together, on and off, for 5 years and I never seriously dated anyone for more than a few months for about 8 years after that, when I met the man I eventually married. I don't believe in soulmates, but I do believe you have a few great loves in your life. That line about treating a teenager like an adult makes a few of my memories click like they hadn't before. Thank you. Just another dumb 21-year-old who wanted to have his cake and eat it too. Wanted her and all the others. Wanted to do my thing while she was just hoping and waiting for me to return. Found out too little too late that the grass was not greener on the other side. Now we're both 23, she's moved on with someone else, and I'm here still thinking about her at times. Still stings, but not like it did at the beginning. In hindsight, I'm glad she got tired of my crap. I wasn't taking life very seriously, I was immature, and other than merely passing classes in college I didn't have much else going on. She changed me, and life hit me like a ton of bricks after she left. Hopefully, one day we talk again. Till then. My ex just left me after living with me for only a month. Everything was perfect when things were calm, but he had a slew of mental illnesses, GAD, depression, panic disorder, PTSD. There would be times when the move 2,000 miles away from his home to live with me was too much for him, but we always managed to get through those tough times. There was one moment where his anxiety led him to such frustration that he said he'd just pack up and go, but he quickly apologized for ever even suggesting it. Then on Wednesday night, he lost it. My mom was flying out for her birthday, and she had been super excited to meet this guy who had brought me such inner peace. Despite all the tension surrounding his, at times, volatile mental state, I had never felt more loved in my entire life. He ended up having a massive panic attack, claiming everything was too permanent. He had just had a great job interview. He was getting documents together to apply for a passport so we could travel together. He was creating art more than ever for his Tumblr and Etsy, and yet, even with all his newfound productivity, he fell back into the negative. He ran away back home. Actually, as far as I can tell from his social media, he's still in San Antonio, which is 3 hours away from here. He was going to take the first bus there and then fly out, but he spent the entire day distressing out there. If he ends up back in Staten Island, I'll finally stop following all of his accounts. But, at this point, I just want to make sure he gets home safely. My heart is so sunken. He told me if it weren't for his mental health issues, he would stay, but he can't handle living so far away from everything and everyone he's ever known while combating those feelings. The rug got pulled right from under me, but hopefully he seeks the treatment he needs and comes out a better person. He probably needed therapy and medical help. I'm sorry this happened to you. Stay strong. She was everything I ever dreamt of, then multiply that by infinity and take it to the depths of forever. Truly one of a kind type of girl. Loved everything about her. We shared similar thoughts and feelings about everything. The perfect soulmate. Sadly, she's just as fearless. She died in a hiking accident falling off a waterfall. I've never felt or been the same since. My passions passed along with her. I feel numb without her. He died as my best friend, suddenly and tragically. Both our families were shocked we weren't romantically involved. We went out for dinner. He was gonna go watch a movie with his male friend, said he'd see me at home later that night. He had a seizure and went into cardiac arrest. Never came back. I haven't loved nor liked anyone as unconditional since, and I have tried. Didn't occur to me that he was my soulmate until a few years after. I was still lost and living my life up. 6 years have passed, and I get the little signs he's still got my back. Miss you, eh? Is anyone else reading these and feeling paranoid that their current or future so is going to feel this way about someone and thinks about them often? Like, how can you compete with that? I'm reading hoping to find a message to me, lol. Early in our relationship I got way too drunk at a dinner party and she threatened to leave me, so I stopped drinking. Realized I was depressed so went on antidepressants which eventually had some unfortunate side effects. Sexually, was also stuck in a stressful job at the time. She eventually just got tired of not being fricked properly every single time and left me. Met her in high school. Perfect girlfriend. Very attractive. Loyal. The whole package. I wasn't ready for that kind of commitment, though. I wanted to focus on myself, go to a good college, and explore what the world had to offer, so I broke it off about a year before college after 2 years of dating and a year of friendship. No regrets. I'm in a good place now at a good school, so it all worked out. I still love her though, not in the sense that I'm dying to be with her again, but in the sense that she's always gonna have a place in my heart, as cheesy as it sounds. I wish her nothing but the best. A soft spot, we call it. This may sound a little out there. I want to clarify that I am currently in a committed relationship with someone I love very much and I consider a soulmate. But in terms of misconnections, there is one single time in my life I have seen someone, just looked at them, and was immediately overcome with an intense, profound attraction that went beyond physical. I guess you would call it love at first sight. I've really never believed in that, or really even knew what it was. And I'm not sure if this is what people refer to when they say that, but this was a transcendent and instant magnetism I have never felt before or since. It was in the parking lot of a grocery store, of all places. I was on lunch break at work. I was driving out of the parking lot when I saw this girl in the parking lot leaning against an old Bronco with her arms crossed. She was wearing these sort of Native American type tan leather pants, boots, and a black tank top. She had tattoos up and down her bare arms. I'm a sucker for tattoos, a nose ring, and this amazing long black hair. And she also just had this air of utter and total self-possession. When I looked at her, she looked back with the most profound confidence I've seen in a person. Like I felt it. This was a woman who could break worlds. I almost crashed because I couldn't take my eyes off her. I wanted to park and get out and say something, but I was in a relationship, and I didn't even know what I would say. I felt like I would just stutter, and she'd crush me under her shoe and keep walking. I was deeply affected by that for hours afterward. I kept thinking of her. I still wonder where she is, who she was, whether she lived around the area or was just passing through like a storm. On the off chance that any of you reading this happen to be a very attractive woman in her late 20s or 30s who with a unique fashion choice, nose ring and long dark hair, and remember standing like a warrior queen in the parking lot of grocery store staring at this sad little office drone gawking at you as he drove by. How's it going? Who are you? And how did you become such an effortless badass? She was my physical therapist. I got sick a few months back and lost the ability to walk, which she helped me do again. I don't actually remember meeting her, as my cognitive ability came back. She was just a normal part of my day. Hard to describe. I know it might just been a friendly, professional relationship, but I feel like something might have been there, and the help she gave me in the worst time of my life inevitably gave me strong feelings. Got discharged before I could ask her out and don't know how to get back in touch yet. This kind of reminds me of, I think, the author Roald Dahl when he got a head injury and so his face swelled and he couldn't see for a while. He fell in love with the nurse who regularly attended to him from the sound of her voice. But as soon as his face unswelled and they removed his bandages, he saw her for the first time and was like, nah. The man I considered my soulmate and the one that got away was someone I wanted so badly and just couldn't ever have. Whether it was bad timing or just in different places in our lives, we lost touch and found each other over and over again consistently over the course of that 10 years. He found me after a few years of being out of touch and I was married. When I got divorced I found him and he was in a relationship with a new baby. I confessed my love for him at that time, but he didn't want to hurt her and I understood. I met my now husband soon after that and said my final goodbye and moved on. I think about him often and wonder how he is and what he's doing. But I honestly feel like if we had ever got together and had a real relationship he wouldn't hold the same place in my heart. Instead, life would have happened and we would have ended up hurting and hating each other. It just wasn't meant to be, and I'm sure it was for the best. I am now in a very fulfilling and happy marriage with a wonderful man and a new baby. He is undeniably my soulmate, but I would have never found him had the timing ever been right for the one that got away. He was perfect, funny, charming, weird, loving. We hit it off immediately and were together for almost 2 years. He supported my decision to go back to school, traveled with me, adored me. He had a tendency to be self-defeating and would often drop things if they became too difficult, but we were each other's best friend. He supported me and I supported him. He switched his unit at work and met a girl who he started hiding messages from. She became a point of tension between us multiple times, but we usually worked through it. Finally, a year later, after just getting home from a trip we did for my birthday, he broke up with me, saying he didn't like how we fight and that he didn't think we wanted the same things in life. We spent the whole time on vacation talking about getting married and had plans to move in together in a few months. Turned out the night prior he lied about going to a work thing. He actually met her in the city and she told him she liked and wanted to date him. I found this out through a mutual friend after he broke up with me. He had lied to everyone. I lost the love of my life to the girl he told me not to worry about. And now she can have everything I deserve and was promised. I feel like I'm drowning in everything I could have said or done differently to keep him around. And I know that everyone keeps telling me I need to get over this, but I can't. He was everything I ever wanted. It can take years to get over someone properly. Give it time and you'll make it through. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.